Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Recently my school had an orchestra play, so all the parents came to watch the students perform. I was one of them and I played the violin. Today my topic is genetic engineering. So genetic engineering is probably something you haven't heard of before because it is very high technology, and also it uses cloning and a lot of materials. So first I'm going to talk about how we transform them and how we put genes into another thing. Then I'm going to talk about the microbe colony, and that means that little things being turned into vaccines. Then I'm going to talk about GM food and how scientists improve tomato flavors with this genetic engineering technology. And then I'm going to talk about clones in this sheep that was cloned to be like her mother, which took 8 months because this Dolly the sheep was cloned and she was took through many processes in eggs. And then I'm going to talk about how humans could be cloned, but right now no humans have been cloned yet, but it could be possible. And lastly, I'm going to talk about stem cells, which are very important in your body because they can turn into everything that you need, like brain nerves and like tissues that you're missing in blood cells. So first I'm going to talk about how we can manipulate genes. So that means that we can put one gene that's part of a living thing into another object, which makes a whole different thing. So for example, if a bat didn't have good hearing, another animal that could have good hearing, it's one of its genes that helps it hear could be taken out and put into the bat. So that means the bat now could have hearing. So this is another example. If a breeder selects dogs that have short tails, many of the dogs would become short, and the gene for long tails will die out because breeders don't breed them anymore. So that's what this chapter is about. And then I'm going to talk about microbe colony. So the microbe colony this means that scientists are trying to smear genes on these little chemical parts because they're trying to make cures for diseases. So that's why they're testing out different kinds of chemicals and genes to put in these baby genes. And now I'm going to talk about GM food. So have you ever wondered why a tomato tastes better? Maybe it's because that tomato was went through genetic engineering. So genetic engineering for food is very easy because this means that genes can be put into food to make it more delicious. So for example, these tomatoes are over here aren't just any plain tomatoes. They're called flavor savers, and this means that scientists put chemicals in them to make the tomato ripen slower, so that means the flavor can last longer. So these tomatoes don't look different, but inside the genes have changed because the scientists put special kinds of chemicals in them. And the genes don't affect the outside part, it only affects the inside part because these tomatoes are flavor savers, but they look like real tomatoes that are not even changed genes yet. But some farmers don't like growing these tomatoes because it could affect the wildlife, because if animals eat them, they will eat the chemicals that used to ripen more slowly, so that could damage more wildlife. And also that the farmers' concern is that maybe it could affect many more species of plants, and then soon there will not be any more good plants, because maybe they grew corn, but the tomato gene spread to corn, but they don't want that because corn doesn't need slowly ripening, because that is good. And now I'm going to talk about clones. So clones are basically things that have been cloned, or it's basically things that have been repeated again or duplicated. So that means that this sheep has been cloned to look exactly like its mother. And cloning is really hard because scientists had to take 277 tries to clone this sheep, but on the last try, they finally did it. So how they cloned Dolly the sheep was they took an egg cell from her biological mother, which means like her real mother, and they put it into another mother sheep so the egg could break apart. So the cell were breaking apart, and inside the cells were baby eggs, and they chose one egg to put in her final mother, which was her birth mother. So this means that the birth mother gave birth to Dolly. So Dolly was the cloned sheep, and she's very famous because everybody knows that she is cloned, but unfortunately she died only 6 years later after she was born because of a lung disease that she had, but normal sheep can live 10 to 12 years. And now I'm going to talk about how are bananas cloned. So fruits don't have to have a mother and dad to produce one baby, because they're food, and then the mother could just reproduce and reproduce and reproduce. So that this means that all of the parents and kids are the exact same, because they don't have different genes, because their mom is exactly the same, and they don't have a dad because fruits don't need a sperm to reproduce. And now I'm going to talk about how could humans be cloned. So far, no humans have been cloned yet, because there are other ways to make a human instead of cloning. So that means that there's not any other way to produce a human than cloning. If there's not any other way, they would use cloning, but there is other ways. But if a mother and dad are having hard times to produce this baby, this would take a process and surgery, and there's no sperm needed in this part, because it's just involving a egg cell to be put in another grown up mature mother cell. So that means like this woman right here is taking out the cell and putting it in a mature mother cell. So that's how you produce a baby without having to use sperm. But not a lot of people do this, because a lot of mothers can be born a baby without this process. And now I'm going to talk about stem cells. Stem cells are so important to your body because when you're a little baby and you're not out of your mother yet, you have all these stem cells. So stem cells are used to turn into any other cells that you need, like tissue and different kinds of blood cells and nerves that you haven't yet grown. So stem cells are one kind of cell that can turn into any part to make a human being. But sometimes grown-ups can lose memory because of diseases and nerves and blood and a lot of different things. So that's why scientists thought of cloning stem cells so that they could cure people, because stem cells could grow into anything. So if you had brain loss, it would cure your brain because they would grow into more nerves. But some people disapprove this because they think that it's very bad, because the embryo has a real human being in it. So that means that it's going to go through a laboratory and it's already fertilized. So that means the human being won't live because the stem cells are taken out of it. So people want scientists to make an embryo clone from human's DNA and then produce stem cells. So that's why there's a concern about it. And grown-ups don't have stem cells anymore because all of them turned into their parts. The only kind they have is the stem cells in their bone marrow. So the bone marrow is the inner part of your bone. It's very soft and it contains a lot of blood. And in that blood, there's stem cells, but these stem cells only produce blood cells, which means that they can't grow into any other than blood cells. Because think about it, you can lose blood easily by making a cut, so there's only stem cells to reproduce the blood. And my conclusion is that genetic engineering is a very kind of high-tech technology, and I think that Dolly the sheep is very interesting, but because she was cloned, and I didn't think we were at cloning technology yet, but Dolly the sheep has proved that we can clone animals, and I think that adding genes to tomatoes to make it more sweet and flavorful is very smart, because it won't affect the tomato shape, it will just affect the taste. And thank you for listening. If you have any comments, comment below, and please like and subscribe.